All right, so we're going to be talking about Agentuity and Snow Leopard today, and some cool things that are going on. We got a great blog post with a sample on how you can use Snow Leopard inside of Agentuity. And with Agentuity, we think there's going to be billions of agents. It's the new. Actually, we talk about things in terms of agentic software, not just agents. It's everything kind of just blurs together. Traditional software, this new software, and we're building a new cloud to run the future of software, to run the future of all of these applications and agentic software and things like that. So we're building it with agents in mind as the persona, as the key persona. And that's why, like, you go to our blog post or you go to our onboarding, it's like, hey, do it the agent way. And you just help the agent onboard. And so in that journey of building a cloud, you have partners, and partner ecosystems are incredibly important, right? And we know we can't build everything, we can't be experts in everything. And so one of the things that Snow Leopard does, at least for me, that I think is cool, is it solves a major problem with consistent agent flows. And if you've ever tried to hook up agents to SQL things, and I don't just mean like SQL syntax, I mean the knowledge around SQL. If you ever worked with RevOps before, no, we don't use that field. We use this field and this field and these three columns we use, but not this one. And it's hairy, right? It's really hairy. And so one of the things I like with Snow Leopard is it brings a service to agents that helps it succeed. So one of the things we always constantly talk about in Agentuity is, what does an agent need to be successful? Because they're the key persona. They're the key persona on our Agentuity platform, the key persona in what we're building in software. What does it need to be successful? And one of those is this proper layer on top of SQL to understand what's going on, being able to interact with the SQL, and the agent can reason about it and be successful. And so that's one of the things that I've seen. Actually, it's pretty cool. If you look at the blog post and the example that Snow Leopard has, it makes a lot of sense. And it's something that, again, like if you start building agents for the first time, it can be hairy. You're like banging your head against the wall, like, this agent's not writing the right SQL. Why does it keep picking this column? Oh, it's because I named it this, and this is the most logical thing. But in RevOps, the most illogical column is the one we're going to use. You know how this goes. So anyway, Snow Leopard brings that to the table, and I think it's pretty cool. And I mean, even like, for us, just as an example, so we have this agent plugin for open code and Claude Code called Coder, and it's a set of agents that it's basically our dev team. It's actually open source. You can install the plugin in Claude Code or open code. But one of the key parts is memory. There's a memory agent, and the team, when I say the team, I mean the team of agents, hands off to the memory agent all the time. And the memory agent has to go look up, oh, what are they working on? This is what they're working on. This is what they need to do. And then these are the lines of code that were affected last time, and you coded it wrong. This is what you had to, and the human had to correct us. So we have this like memory recall thing back and forth. And so if the queries aren't correct, then what happens is you end up wasting a ton of tokens as the agent's like in this loop. It's a token burner until it figures it out. So anyway, that's where I think Snow Leopard comes in and is pretty cool. And maybe you can tell us more about a Snow Leopard and like the approach and the background. But anyway, from my perspective, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Rick. What struck me at the beginning of what you were saying, right? Like, is when we talked, I have a similar philosophy that we're building for a world of agents. And so what can we do to make the end-to-end agent successful in doing the work it needs to do? And so for me, having spent the how many ever years making data infrastructure work for the cloud world and the on-prem world, whatever, data is the hardest part, and it's also the crown jewels. And when I say data, I generally mean structured data. I mean like data in SQL databases, right, and things like that. And so if you cannot really use your sort of business critical operational data in the right way, regardless of what the system is, whether it's like a SaaS system or in the world of agents, like if it's an agent system, the agent will have to make decisions, right? Like you were talking about your agent team making decisions based on the right information, right? The right information at the right time is critical for agents to do real production enterprise workflows. And that's literally the philosophy of Snow Leopard. That's why I started it, because in the world of agents, how do you make agents successful with the hardest part? And how do you make developers building the agents successful access the right data from their right systems at the right time? And so Snow Leopard sits in the middle of like your agent and all of your sort of systems of record, and is there to make that sort of journey or that access to information simple, right? So what do you do today? When I say simple, what do you mean? Like, it's very easy to set up an MCP server, everybody's doing it, right? But getting the MCP server to then give you, or the agent to give you accurate information is near impossible, right? There is no way you will trust it out of the gate, right? But also, as you said, for every query, the agent has to make multiple calls to the data, which means it's a token burner, like you say, but also getting accuracy, even then, is really hard, right? And so for maybe side systems where accuracy and freshness of information, live real-time data retrieval is not important, maybe things like RAG work, things like ETL work, things like data lake work, right? But when you are trying to make decisions that require real-time information, like just-in-time provisioning or supply chain management, or even support, I can't tell you how frustrated like I get with AI agent support these days. It's like 4 questions and then you have to talk to a person. And I know, and you know, that the data exists, right? It's in your Postgres and your Salesforce, which are both structured systems, by the way. But the agent has no access to it because it connects to a data lake that dumps every 8 hours. Like, it's just not, it's not
Right.
the way, it's just not the way. And so with Snow Leopard, what we're saying is this is the way, because you just call, like, you know, we connect to your data sources, to your SQL database, and then we have an automatic semantic layer that understands your business logic, right? So when we onboard, like, we've already created a knowledge base inside a Snow Leopard that understands what your data is and what your schema is, et cetera, so that we can give you 90+% accuracy out of the box, right? So you did nothing. Like, instead of you building RAG pipeline, ETL, data dumping, context engineering for weeks, you gave Snow Leopard, you know, you connected to Snow Leopard, and then now you can, your agent can start to ask questions in minutes, which we think is the way. We think that's the way you build agents that will ultimately, you know, run business critical workflows in enterprises. And that is the way that sort of a team of agents can make progress faster without constant like supervision or constantly falling over because they're working on inaccurate or stale information, right? That is the purpose of Snow Leopard, to help agents make forward progress and make decisions in real time, right, for those critical workflows. And what does that mean for developers building these agents? It means you can ship those production agents faster. It means you can trust your agents better, right? And you can like build an ecosystem around those agents that will then, you know, work together and be first-class citizens of the enterprise world, right? And I think Agentuity is exactly the kind of agent cloud that needs to be there, right? Like, we need to be agent first in our minds instead of like the old school way first. And you know, when we built this example, like the way it just sort of fit in, where Snow Leopard's APIs just worked with Agentuity's APIs, was just it was a beautiful thing to see. And I think ultimately both Agentuity and Snow Leopard's goal is to make it easy and like less error prone, right? Like more production grade stuff out of the door faster.
Right. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Like in the world of billions of agents, and there's these layers and layers. We have a quarter goal. We're trying to get 1,000 agents by the end of the quarter, kind of thing, working for us. And it's just one of those core things. When you're layering all these agents, they have to be able to understand the business data. They have to. It's one of those core things. So yeah, I love it. It's very cool.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is interesting is I don't want us to get us being like AI agent people to get caught up in, oh, my data lives on-prem, or my data lives in this cloud, and my data lives in like a VPC, right? Like, all those things are not relevant to the agent, right? Like, we want to, again, if we want to think agent first, we want to make sure that the data layer, to your point, right? Like, there's a data layer on top of these databases. That data layer just takes care of that, right? And so Snow Leopard is a BYOC type system. So it can, you know, we can be on-prem, we can be in the cloud, we can provide it as a SaaS service, whatever you want, because those things should never be the reason why your agent didn't work, right? Or took like months to get to production. Like, we are still in the world of POC takes, with Cloud Code takes 4 hours. And production, I don't know, forever or never, because you never got to the right, you know, because all those like things around data connectivity and data privacy and data connection and database Where is my database? How is it getting access to data? Who's taking it? That's where all of the time goes, right? In my opinion. And so what if that just becomes like erase and then like connect and be done?
Right. Yeah.
Why can't we be in that world? I feel like we're here.
Yeah, we definitely are. I think so.
Awesome. I would love for people to try our agent with Agentuity, and like I'd love to see what people say about it, because I know you and I are excited about it, but I want to see whether people are excited about using it.